At this point, you should have a good understanding of color as an element of art, and you should also understand how color impacts design, the importance of it in design, and the different color harmonies or color schemes. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how you can go about creating a color palette based around one of the color schemes or color harmonies. Easiest way to do that is Adobe has created an app and a plugin and a website. They all kind of work together. Used to be called Adobe Color, Kuler, and it was supposed to be pronounced color, and they just, in a recent version, kind of stepped back and just straight up called it, as you can see here, color to make it easier. So I am on color.adobe.com. Another thing to note is I am logged into my Adobe ID. If you recall earlier in the year, y'all created an Adobe ID. You don't need to be logged into that to use color. It's free and available. But the benefit of being logged in is you can save a color scheme that you create here and automatically access it within the Adobe suite. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm in color.adobe.com, and I just want to go over the interface and give you a basic understanding of what you're looking at. So here you see color rule. Color rule, you can think of it as color harmony or color scheme. You have analogous. If I hit this down arrow and open it up, you can see monochromatic, triad, etc. You can see these different ones. I have the color wheel right here. If I click on it, I can make it bigger. This is my primary color, and these are the colors that go with it in the scheme. By default, the color scheme or the color palette's 5 colors, and that's a pretty good palette to work with in your designs, 3 to 5 colors. So if we're doing analogous and we want to change the hue, and if you remember, hue essentially means, color is made up of hue, saturation, and either brightness or value, depending on what you want to call it. But essentially, hue is what we think of as color: red, blue, green, yellow. So if I wanted to change my hue from red, I can drag around here to green, for example. All right, that's changing the hue. Saturation is if I then pull it in the color wheel. How much green do I have? How saturated is that green? So hue is what we tend to think of as color. Saturation, how much of that color, and then value or brightness you control down here, right? Much darker, much lighter, and you can see I come across and I have more brightness. And you can see across the palette here how it adjusts that color. Or if I switch over and I need a complementary color scheme, I take my primary kind of color here, and you can see as I turn that around the color wheel, my color rule or my color scheme or my color harmony changes. Another thing to note is down here you have RGB values. You can also look at other values such as CMYK, Lab, and HSB. We're going to focus on RGB and the hex code, which is used in web, but you can also copy and paste that easily into Illustrator if you were doing it manually in the hard way. But I want to show you the easy way. So I'm going to switch over. I'm going to Command Tab over to Illustrator, and I have this template open that you should download if you haven't already, and you're going to draw 4 spirographs on this template, and you're going to show me that you understand these 4 different color schemes, and I want you to use Adobe Color. Now you can use the website we were just on, or Adobe has done this great thing. And I'm going to switch. We created this custom workspace. We're going to update it really quick. And then I'm going to show you how it works. So I'm going to actually click on Color Guide and pull that off. We're not going to use that anymore. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I pulled it off and closed it. I'm going to come up to Window, and I'm going to come under Color Themes. I'm going to take this whole bar. I'm going to drop it right to the right of Color. And I want to now have color themes as part of my workspace. And now that I've changed my workspace, I need to update it. So I'm going to click on Graphic Arts, and I'm going to say New Workspace. I'm going to call it graphic arts. That's what mine is called. And it says this name already exists. Clicking OK will overwrite. Say OK. Now anytime I open up a new document, I will have swatches, color, and color theme instead of color guide. And this right here, this Adobe Color Themes, is just a built-in streamlined version of Adobe Color. You can see here's the 5 colors, here's the color wheel, here is the brightness saturation, here's the name of the color theme if you want to save it, and right here is the color rule, analogous, monochromatic, etc. This is creating your own from scratch. This is exploring ones that are other people have created. You can see ones pop up here as most popular. You can search for titles like beach, mountains, forest. And under my themes are ones that you've created. And this is one I'm thinking about using for Bolt TV this year. Now, how do I see my themes? Because you probably won't see yours right off the bat. I'm logged in within Adobe to my Adobe ID. And how do you do that? You come under Help, and then you sign in, and you can see mine says sign out because I'm signed in, but sign in and use your Adobe ID, which should be your school email address if you set things up correctly. So we looked at Adobe Color web app, then we came into Adobe Illustrator, we opened up the Adobe Color themes, I had you reset your workspace, and then have you log in to your Adobe ID. Next tutorial, I'm going to just give a quick overview of creating the spirograph and using that Adobe Color theme to complete this assignment.